Alright, let's see if it works this time. Get my hair out of the way. Hello. This is the RPG Crawler. And my Thursday stream here. This is Thursday, right? I am just so exhausted. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Yeah, this my Thursday stream is usually me taking a quick look at a early release or early access game or whatever. Sometimes I take a look at you know, pay what you want / free stuff. Today I'm going to try something a little bit different because I was curious about whether I could get something to work. And I think that I've got it to work. And if this works out, then I can actually do more stuff similar to this. So I do not know what is going to be going on. If I look a little bit washed out, it's because I got my new lighting kit set up for what I'm about to do here. But I haven't adjusted it correctly. So what we're going to do here is something a little bit new for me, and I know a lot of people already do this. And that is, I am going to be taking a look at
a book on my desk.
And I don't do this a lot because quite frankly my desk space is nil. So if we lose signal here,
we'll have to deal with it.
We'll have to deal with it.
I'll try and fix it up.
I'll try and fix it up. But if this turns out to be neat,
well, who knows? I could do some.
RPG design work or whatever. I could do like some adventure design stuff. Not that I'm terribly good at doing the illustration part or anything, but you know, I could do some basic mapping. My maps suck compared to a lot of RPG streamers, but you know, I could do something like that.
Hey! Oh
no, a big echo. Oh no, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Sorry about that. Give me a moment. Let me see if I can't do this. Tell me if that fixed the echo. Did that fix the echo? Yeah, did that fix the echo? Yeah, I'm trying a new one. The problem is that this. Hey, let me know if this fixed the echo. The problem is this camera is not supposed to be capturing audio, but it is. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. See, I've got a bunch of cameras, but I haven't done this before. So the echo. Okay, good. The problem is that now you're hearing me through the camera audio. Actually, I wonder. Give me one moment. I got to try something else too. Let me see something real quick. We'll get to looking at this here shortly. I'm just having a little bit of technical difficulty thing. You're probably gonna, my audio quality is gonna blow because I'm using this camera's audio when it's supposed to be turned off. We'll make it work. Rest in peace, my good mic. This came in for me today. I ordered it a little while back. There's probably gonna be some delay in all kinds of video here. This is a Call of Cthulhu 7th edition thing. And it's the one I've been waiting for a while. And I have not reviewed Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. I need to. It's like one of those games that I've purchased a lot of, but I haven't actually run or anything because nobody I know likes the Call of Cthulhu. This is Malleus Monstrorum, and this is a 2-book. It's a 2-volume set in a slipcase. And it cost me, I think, about $80 on Amazon. I'm probably going to throw a link up. In fact, I know I'm going to throw a link up because I'm going to grab the affiliate link and I will throw it in chat, and I will probably throw it in the description as well. But this is basically the bestiary for Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Malleus Monstrorum. Did I call it Malleus Maleficarum? My bad. It's Malleus Monstrorum. And it's only 65. In fact, I should have got it from there, man. I paid too much for it. Or maybe I didn't. I think I may have paid... What did I pay for this? What did I pay for this? I bet I paid too much. Yeah, I paid about 20 bucks too much. If I'd waited a couple days, I would have been able to get it for 65 instead of 85. Oh well, oh well. Here's a link. It is the Cthulhu Mythos Bestiary. It has... Yeah, it's about... It is... There's a delay on the chat just because that's the way that that YouTube streaming works. Anyway, there's a 2-volume set. And this is The Creatures from Call of Cthulhu. And it's got nice artwork. It's a very nice box. I'm not usually big on box sets, but I guess it was too big for one book. And if it were Frog God Games or something, they probably would have just paid it through. Well, I'm cheap. I hate paying full price for stuff. Alright, so this is a collection of 2 volumes. You've got Volume 1, Monsters of the Mythos. And then you have Volume 2, Deities of the Mythos. This is this is 7th edition, isn't it? What are they on now? I think, yeah, 7th edition. It's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition. Yeah. Yeah, it's like 65, 66 bucks. It's nice. I paid entirely too much for it, but you know what? I'm okay with that because one thing that I like is that the Call of Cthulhu books are all really nice quality. And they're all really pretty books. And if people have watched my stuff before, they know that I'm a sucker for really nice looking books. Even though I tend not to keep them that nice. Yeah, it's Call of Cthulhu, not 5th edition. There is a 5th edition bestiary put out by somebody else that's nothing but Cthulhu stuff. But I'm not interested in that, quite frankly. I hate to put it that way, but I basically run 5th edition just as like a manner of I can't get one of my groups to play anything else right now. So let's take a look. You got your Monsters of the Mythos, which is just your general monsters, then your Deities of the Mythos, which is the deities, the gods, the elder ones, the old ones, the great old ones, that sort of thing. And in any other system, you would expect the basic monster book to be bigger than the Deities book, whereas in Call of Cthulhu it's reversed. So the Deities book in Call of Cthulhu is a good, it looks like at least about a dozen pages bigger than the basic one. Let me take a look. Now, supposedly these were released back in January, but Amazon's been kind of slow on getting stuff. There's like what, like 215 pages versus... I'm just curious. This is just for my own curiosity. What's the Deities book clock in at? 263. So you're looking at about a 50-page difference with 50 more pages of Deities, which is just hilarious. It looks like it's got the stitched binding with a integral ribbon bookmark, which I always appreciate. Thank you, high-quality printers that do that. Let me take a look at this. We'll take a look at this one first. Now, bear in mind that although I am relatively familiar with Call of Cthulhu, I haven't been able to get any of my groups to play it. So I've basically got all of these books on my shelf without a group to play them with. And I have played it in the past. Yeah, but it is... I have played it in the past, but I played like 6th edition, so it was a while back. And give me one moment here. I'm going to try something out real quick. Never mind. So let's take a look at the interior. It's got print. The pages are decent quality, but I think they're slightly less weight than the Call of Cthulhu core books. Let me take a look. They're ever so slightly less weight than the Call of Cthulhu core books. And I know a lot of people don't care about printing, and I'm no expert by any means, but I do appreciate a well-made book when I paid that much for it, you know? Got nice full-color interior. So you got a forward and introduction, using and creating monsters, which is good because it gives you general guidelines for that. Then monsters of the mythos, monsters from folklore, then beasts, and then a pronunciation of mythos names, which is going to be incredibly useful, and yet I'm probably not going to touch the thing because I can barely pronounce English as it is, much less like Call of Cthulhu stuff, so we will see. So I got the standard forward of an introduction. I'm not going to read all of this, but I'm pretty sure that it just gives you your background. This was, let's see, which one was the original one? The first edition of the Malleus Monstrorum was in 2006, and I think that was for 5th edition Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, I don't actually like slipcase collections that much, but I will give this one a pass. I think I have. I'm looking at my shelf. I don't have, like... I thought I had a couple of them, but I don't have that many slipcase collections. So, in fact, I have none that I can see, and I thought I actually did own a couple of them. So you can see, I'm not a big fan of them, mostly because I get hesitant about actually using stuff when it's got a nice slipcase, because you've got to take it out, and I fumble a lot, so I end up battering the cases around. Got some nice artwork, nice interior artwork, but this is pretty par for the course for the Call of Cthulhu stuff. Call of Cthulhu 7th edition is really nice looking. I actually want to run like a Call of Cthulhu Old West thing. I have, give me one moment. I have the On Darker Trails, which is for Call of Cthulhu and another one. And that one, Down Darker Trails. This is for Call of Cthulhu and like a derivative that's like more action-y, Pulp Cthulhu. And this one covers like Cthulhu in the Old West. So what I want to do is run a Call of Cthulhu game in the Old West. Maybe like 1880s, or not even the Old West, but like symbol or something similar. Yeah, I wish I could stop rolling ones. The issue is I'm getting older and I wasn't that coordinated to begin with, so you know, there is that. Give me one moment. I gotta check something. Alright, yeah, so let's take a look at the interior. Gives you guidelines for sanity and the senses, which is, it's not rules based, but it's important for Call of Cthulhu system because they rely so much on the sanity mechanic. Gives you guidelines for playing monsters, handling them in combat, which is funny because you really want to avoid combat in Call of Cthulhu. Yeah, like Deadland. Yeah, it's sort of like that, but with the Call of Cthulhu stuff, the Down Darker Trails stuff. It's neat from what I've seen. I'm setting something up, my bad. And then what you've got, rules for monster injury and death, because they don't all handle injury the same. They give you ideas for maneuvers. The Call of Cthulhu system is not as strict a system in terms of combat as 5th edition. In fact, I may just turn my face cam off here because it's... Well, actually, I'm going to leave it on because it's covering up like a stand. But it's a little bit looser and gives more leeway for like special activities and such in Call of Cthulhu. Monster Magic. Draw spells from the Call of Cthulhu Keeper rulebook, or better yet, the Grand Grimoire of Cthulhu Mythos Magic, which I have. And my issue with the Grand Grimoire is that it's nice, but it's got a few... It's like missing a few classic spells. So people that are into that thing kind of point that out. Setting something up here. Alright. But it gives you like combat spells for the monsters. But again, Call of Cthulhu really does not rely on combat that much. Basically, if you get into combat in Call of Cthulhu, it's either the end of the adventure, or you've messed up. Although you do combat like mundane things, which is why I think the beast part of this is going to be the most interesting. But one thing to note, oh, I love this. It's got a chart of monster sizes. So if you've ever been curious, you got a human over here. Deep one is a little bit bigger, but man, even judging from this, I'm not sure what I can do. Can I zoom this in real quick? Let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. All right. Yeah, if you look at this, like the deep one compared to a human, like realistically, if I was walking along and I saw something at least a head and a half taller than I was, I'd be pretty terrified, you know. I'd be pretty terrified. And then it just goes up from there all the way to the Great Cthulhu at the far end. Like, I didn't know that a Shoggoth was supposed to be that big. That is, like, terrifying. No, that's a star spawn of Cthulhu. That's not even the Great Cthulhu himself. That's like a star spawn. It's just like the baby Cthulhu or whatever. Let's see, you got random tables for generating monsters. Because one of the key things about Call of Cthulhu is that, or in fact the Cthulhu mythos in general, one of the key things is that a lot of the stuff is just... It's just random. It's not random, but it's like unexpected. So if you are coming up against an alien creature, having the stats in a monster book is detrimental. That's why monster books for Call of Cthulhu are almost like not really necessary. I'm going to put this drink down and hope I don't spill it. Monster classification. It's got old classifications for backwards compatibility, because the last time they put one of these together, I think, was 2006. Was the last time they put this book out in the 5th edition of Call of Cthulhu? Because I never played that one. You got independent races, which are basically like sentient creatures with their own civilizations, not necessarily humanoid at all. And a lot of these, in fact, most of these are simply taken from Cthulhu Mythos stuff. Not necessarily all Lovecraftian stuff, but Cthulhu Mythos stuff. Let me know if my audio has any issues, because, I mean, I know it sounds like crap because I'm using my camera's audio, but if it cuts out or anything, let me know. This just describes the formats. Let's get to the monsters themselves. Hit point losses by damage type. So this is for when you're... Because combat in Call of Cthulhu is not as formalized as it is in D&D, you get a lot of interesting scenarios where players will try something like detonating a nuclear bomb on Cthulhu, or driving a tractor trailer full of fuel into an elder being and trying to burn it to death. So you've got like hit point losses by damage type here, so you can kind of like rule of thumb how much damage that kind of stuff does. You know, accidents happen on a Call of Cthulhu battlefield. More often than not. And now let's take a look. Strange and unusual, the monsters of the Cthulhu mythos. And this is kind of what I like to see, where you've got like the early 20th century investigator. So I am by no means a Call of Cthulhu expert or even a Cthulhu mythos expert, although I have read a lot of stuff. It has been years and my memory is terrible. I have to change something up here real quick. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Sorry about that. Something was begging my attention. And is still begging my attention because I can't freaking see. All right. So back to the book at hand. Let's take a look. Abhoth, Spawn of. I like that because otherwise you'd end up with an S section that is just like spawn of this, spawn of that. What really helps is more how the monster performs, what it does, and where it lurks. Exactly. Whoops, did I just bump? Yeah, I bumped that. That's right. But exactly. That way, even if they don't fight it, they know where they will feed it. So you look at here, you got like the adherent of the unspeakable oath. You've got alternate names. That way, because like in D&D, you'll encounter something and it'll be like, oh, you've encountered an orc. But in Call of Cthulhu, different cultures have different names for the creatures, so you get that in here. Gives you the description of what they do. It gives you a description of their of any like ecological niche that you need to worry about in terms of them walking around on. So like the adherent of the unspeakable oath, they have a nightly feeding entry that tells you what they must do and gives you game mechanics for it each night. Ashen One, living dust from the ground, bones of corpses. Some take the form of humanoid nightmares. That's like brutal. And it gives you the alternate names, quick description, special abilities, and what they do. Thanks. I really try to make it useful and I am no expert, but I have been playing RPGs a long time, and I have read a bunch of them, and I do have a background in video. Well, I don't have a background. I've basically got my degree is in game design, so it's like I should know the terminology better than I do, but I find if I use a lot of the terminology that people use in game design, it just makes you come across as an a-hole, and I try and keep away from that. I do like how they've got illustrations of some of these, but not all of these. Another good Cthulhu resource is Sandy Peterson's Guide to the Cthulhu Mythos or something like that. I forget what it is, and that's nothing but a book of like illustrations of creatures. Biyaki. Those are the things that fly out of like nowhere and pick people up and spirit them away. So many tropes are based on these guys that you wouldn't even know. Basically, they come when they're summoned by flutes of a particular song, and they can carry you to other planets. And again, I have to update something. My apologies. I am trying to get something. I should have started this stream 2 hours ago, and it took me that long to get this set up. What would be cool is more on the cults and each of the things they worship, how they appease the entities, rituals for each. I think they've got that's in separate stuff. They've got separate guidebooks that tell you about organizations, and they tend to focus them around around particular campaigns. So what you've got is like you'll buy a particular campaign, and then it'll tell you the various cults and organizations around that in that campaign book, because that's really how you want to do it. Otherwise, if you wanted to cover every single Cthulhu, every single cult and religion in Cthulhu that has to do with the Cthulhu mythos, you'd end up with a book like 600 pages thick. I used to have a guidebook. In fact, it's probably over there somewhere. I'm half tempted to go get it. That was all about the Cthulhu mythos, but it was printed like back in the 90s, so it's nowhere near up to date on a bunch of games. Let me see if I can't find it real quick. Watch my fat ass get up. Hold on. Oh. Yeah, give me a second. Let me see if I can even find this thing. Oh, man. I thought it was in this stack of stuff, and it wasn't. No, wait. There it is. Whoop. There you go. No, this is the wrong one. Okay. So I can't find... This is not the book I thought it was. This is not the book I thought it was. It was just a collection of H.P. Lovecraft works. Now, I used to have a guidebook that was printed in the 90s that was a guidebook of the Lovecraftian mythos, including things from like the third party, because there was a lot of third party writers, because Lovecraft basically made the Lovecraftian universe open source back in like the 1920s, before that concept was even a thing. And he basically let other writers use it freely. And so they had this big... and I wish I knew the name of it. I can't remember the name. It's been years since I had it. But it was useful because it didn't give you in-depth stuff. Like the material in here, like there's this much just on a Chthonian, on the backgrounds. Now it continues up here, so that in that book didn't have that much for most things. But it did give you a good idea of the rituals involved for various things and such. So the Chthonians, immense earthbound snake squid worms. Snake squid worms. It just tells you all you need to know right there. And since there's a bunch of types, not types, but they have like this life cycle. And they've got different stats for whether it's a young Chthonian or an old Chthonian. Garn. Said to be... what am I looking at here? This is like a location. So anytime... I guess anytime that a particular location is referenced, it just gives you some... Or not... Yeah, this is a location, a lost city of Garn. And so they give you a quick rundown on the city, even though this is technically a bestiary. Just so you have something to reference. Color Out of Space, which was an awesome book and not directly related to the Cthulhu mythos, but I guess it just made it in there. It's not even a book, it's a short story, because a lot of the stuff was short stories. Crystallizers of Dreams. Guardian of the Crystallizers of Dreams. So if you look at some of this stuff, you can... The crawling ones, if you're familiar with some like D&D 3rd edition stuff, there was a creature in that called like the Worm That Walks or whatever, and this was the inspiration for that. Crawling ones, Wriggling Masters of Sorcery, and it's just like a bunch of worms in a humanoid form. Give you some information on the Dreamlands, which was integral to a lot of Cthulhu mythos stuff. Starspawn of Cthulhu, also known as baby Cthulhus. Gigantic cephalopodic beings whose heads are corruption of tentacles set beneath 2 or more eyes that glow with radiant malice. So this is what people think of when they think of Cthulhu. is like this winged creature with like a squid head. But that was actually just a star spawn of. Like Cthulhu is actually much bigger than even those. Thrall of Cthulhu. Ew, this reminds me of the Scum. It's like a weird illithid thing, but it reminds me of the Scum from 3rd edition. That was the one where the aboleth would capture you and turn you into like a fish thing. Shoggoth Trisha, a Deep 1 variant. So yeah, this gives you background. Like, you remember you said that. You were saying that you thought it would be cool to have more on the cults. Here you go. This one gives you some oaths that are involved with members of the Esoteric Order of Dagon. So it gives you background on a cult. Deep 1 hybrids, because these Deep 1s for some reason feel the need to breed with literally anything. So you get like all kinds of half-fish creatures. I'm going to try and speed this up a bit because I got 2 books to go through. Oh man, look at this. I don't know, what even is this? Is that a dole? Or is this something else? No, this is from the prior one, the Devil Creepers, I think. That's the problem, is that there's illustrations in here, which is incredibly useful, but they're not immediately labeled, and a lot of this stuff is just miscellaneous tentacled creature number 482 or whatever. So you really have to read the descriptions to see which is which. And let's continue onward. Oh man, that thing has hands at the end of its tentacles. Dwellers in the depths. From an elliptical body extended 8 appendages, arm-like and ending in something akin to a flipper, although 2 are more like writhing tentacles. So yeah, you got the elder things. Those are technically, I think, not enemies. They're basically more like the progenitors. They're scientists and super smart. Yeah, they got the scientific quality. Like, this thing is a super scientist. Let me go through, because this first part is Cthulhu mythos stuff. And it's like ghouls in the ghast and ghouls in the Cthulhu mythos are not like ghast and ghouls in D&D. They're almost like monstrous versions of the ghouls and stuff from I want to even say The Witcher, where they're like no longer even close to human. They're monstrous, and they live on corpses. They do live on corpses, just like they do in like Nofka. Now this one's an interesting one because if you look at this head and this horn arrangement, you know what that reminds me of? Is the villain in the Lost City. The main villain in the Lost City. That reminds me of that. The Goatswood Gnome. See, that's starting to look more like classical, like fantasy type stuff. There are creatures in here. These are all of the Cthulhu mythos, but there are creatures in here. Like, this looks like there's a satyr. Satyrs are part of the Cthulhu mythos, apparently. Satyrs, whatever. They look evil as hell. So you've got, I mean, let me examine the stat blocks real quick. The stat blocks in Cthulhu Mythos follow the D100 system that it was based on, and that was actually later kind of adapted into a couple other things. There was a fantasy one that was based on it for a while, and Pendragon kind of uses some elements of it, although it kind of diverged way before it got cleaned up and modernized. So the Pendragon system only vaguely resembles this. It's like if you had D&D split off way back in the 80s into 2 separate products, and then just follow their own lines and then bring them back together under one house much later, then you'd still see similarities, but there'd be a lot of differences too. Yeah, a lot of this, I'm not even going to try and pronounce half of this. Spawn of Hastur. See what I mean? I'm glad that they put like Hastur, spawn of, because otherwise you'd end up with like just a bunch of S's where there's like spawn of this, spawn of that, spawn of the spawn of this. Let me go through here. The courtiers of the King of Yellow. See, a lot of these creatures have really long names, just because that's the way they're set up. It's great for introducing them. What the? That looks like something. Looks like I had a nightmare about something like that one time. Inhabitants of Legex. I have no idea how to pronounce that. There's a guide in the back. I'm not going to look at it. See, I would give more in-depth examination of like the stats and how they compare. Except, as I said, I've not run the system enough to really feel comfortable with that, you know? I'm going to have to give these books a real thorough once-over. Variant MeGo forms. Yeah, MeGo are like the I thought they were fungus, but no, they're insectoid things with crustacean bodies. And they've got various types. Wasn't there a mushroom thing? Wasn't there a fungus from MeGo or something? Yeah, these more these more resemble another thing from like 3rd edition D&D. You'll notice a lot of familiar designs. If you are familiar with a bunch of Far Realm stuff, is because they basically filed the serial numbers off of a lot of this stuff and brought it into D&D, even though they didn't have to, because so much of it is just a free-for-all and free to use. Night Gaunts, the Faceless Nightmares. How big are they? They're size 40 or 46 times 5. Average build is 0 though, so they're basically man-sized. Spawn of Nyogtha. Yeah, the thing about Call of Cthulhu is it takes a certain group to really enjoy it. And I feel I would enjoy running Call of Cthulhu, but I honestly couldn't really name a book or name a I couldn't name enough people to make a group that would enjoy playing it, and that's a real shame because I really want to run it sometimes. Maybe I'll get people to play it sometime, and then I'll put the video up on YouTube or something. Let me take a look at something real quick. Did I just mess up? No, I did not mess up. Okay. I almost messed up. I got something going in the background because it took me so long to get this thing started. I'm just surprised my camera has held up as much as it did. See, my initial plan, I got like this 4K camera, and my initial plan was to use this and then zoom it in so we could get more detail. But apparently this 4K camera that I got for other purposes can't do like a live feed out. I'd have to get a newer version of it. So while it's great for filming these for reviews, I can't do like a live stream with it. So there is that. So I had to find the connections for my old 1080 camera, and then go from there. So I'm gonna skip by a lot of this stuff because a lot of this stuff is just Call of Cthulhu stuff. Because there's another section I would like to look at, and that is are we still in the? This is still in the Cthulhu mythos. Apparently Wendigos are part of the Cthulhu mythos. There's the worm that walks. Oh God, is that a creature in a trench coat? Yeah, this is like an unearthly abomination in a damn trench coat. But there's more to this book that I wanted to show. Because after the Call of Cthulhu type stuff, which is nice if you're doing mythos stuff. Wait, what? Did I see rules for a lightning gun? Lightning gun, Model C. Model C weapon. I suspect it has gotta be from a book somewhere. I mean, it's gotta be from a story somewhere. But aside from the Cthulhu stuff, you can actually run like standard horror style games using Call of Cthulhu. So having monsters from folklore is actually really useful. So you've got the Black Dog, which are like Barghists. Yeah, from the United Kingdom. Those are the Barghists. They haunt villages and are creatures of ill omen. I actually started writing a short story about a monster hunter and started with the Black Dogs of Britain. You got your generic ghosts, rules for ghosts. And there's a lot of them. There's the Golem. But this is more like a Jewish folklore golem rather than your D&D style golem. Golem. Is it Golem or Gollum? I don't speak Hebrew. I don't know what that's from. Okay, that was me actually saving my butt. Okay, good. Excuse me. You got the Jersey Devil in here. Neat. So that's the Jersey Devil. You have your generic lake monster, which could be, what is it, Otopogo or whatever, or it could be the Loch Ness monster. It's just your generic lake monster. Man-eating plant. Yeah, so these are basically creatures of myth. Generic giant hairy hominid. You can use it as Bigfoot, as Sasquatch, or whatever. It's just like a big hairy creature. I would love to play a game where Tesla organizes a tactical team versus Cthulhu enemies. I would see a movie like that. You know what system does that well is Pulp Cthulhu. Pulp Cthulhu does that well, and I think there's a Savage World supplement that does the same thing. And did I just mess up? Have I messed up? Did I mess up? I think I messed up. I didn't mess up too much. One moment, I gotta check something out. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought I messed up, but I didn't mess up. All right, and I'm gonna ignore that for now because I'm done with that. Your vampire, like the human, it's got a human skeleton. Like generic stats for a human skeleton, generic stats for a vampire. And you don't have to use the stats from here. Yeah, I basically have something going on in the background, and it was time critical, and now it's done, so I'm all good to go. Your generic zombie, your generic werewolf. So you don't have to use the stats as presented, but it's really good to have like a base. In fact, that's what a lot of why I even look at bestiaries for, is that it gives you a base from which to design your other things. So that's why I love bestiaries of all sorts, even if I never use them. This is Beast. This is your general creatures, which is really fun. I've had more close calls in my horror games with generic run-of-the-mill wildlife than I have with like horrible monsters. It's so fun to have a group go into a horror game, get creeped out, expect I mean, they go into a horror game expecting an unnatural monster, right? They expect the unnatural and the supernatural, and they go in there and they're bracing for that ghost, or they're wandering through the brush looking for like the big the big demon that's going to sweep out of the darkness, and just the looks on their faces when they go in there prepped for that kind of thing, and then like a tiger jumps them or something, or just like an alligator drags them into the water, and it's part of it is just like it relieves the tension, and then they're like, oh man, we came in here expecting a ghost and we ended up finding like a bear. And it relieves that tension, and then you can spring the supernatural stuff after that. You got just stats for random birds, stats for random dogs and big cats. That's just useful stuff. A school of piranha. Various sharks. A giant squid. They don't attack like that. Although that is kind of cute. With the big eyes. Alright, and then the pronunciation of mythos. I thought that was that was it. Pronunciation of mythos names. So it gives you the pronunciation guide, which I'm never even going to look at because if I wanted to pronounce things correctly, I would give a shit. Sorry. Monster Master Sheet and Minion Master Sheet. So they actually have character sheets for individual monsters, and this is one of the systems that can actually get away with that because you're not going to have a huge amount of monsters in any given adventure. So that was Volume 1 of the Malleus Monstrorum. Volume 2 is all about like the elder gods and the deities and such. These are the things that you do not fight. But you know what? I bet they stat them out anyway. So let me slide this into the slipcase before I screw it up anymore. I'm going to have to do a proper review of Call of Cthulhu sometime. So yeah, let me put this down. And we will go look at the next one, which is Volume 2, Deities of the Mythos. And it's larger than the last one because, quite frankly, there are a lot of deity-level creatures in the mythos. And since, the thing about it is this. Like, fundamentally, even though it's considered horror, yeah, the old if it has stats, then we will try to kill it. That's why some of this stuff is just going to be no win. I will actually look at the stats of Cthulhu in this, because that is classically the one where it's like every round it just kills 1d4 people. Like there's no roll, or aside from the 1d4, they just die. So I'm wondering if it has something similar to that. But here's the thing about what was I on about? Oh yeah, fundamentally, the Cthulhu mythos, even though it is horror and it has magic and stuff, fundamentally, the Cthulhu mythos is actually sci-fi, because the idea is that they're not like spiritual gods and shit. They are actually alien creatures with either multi-dimensional forms or advanced technology. And the saying, was it Asimov or whatever, it was like, sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that's basically where the Cthulhu stuff is supposed to come from, where they explain a lot of it as quote-unquote unnatural things from beyond the universe, but they're actually all part of the universe. And it's just things that mankind can't handle, you know. I'm trying to speak a little loudly because I know that I'm using the dippy the microphone from that thing rather than my actual microphone. I need to try to figure out how to fix that, because if I'm going to be doing these streams where I get like a camera on a book, then I need to find out how to fix that. All right, let's take a look at the table of contents. Get a sip of water so I don't mess my voice up. So you really only have 2 chapters here. So you got the Unknowable, which is just the introduction, and then you've got the deities of the mythos. So this one has less breakdowns than the last one. Gives you your introduction, you got an in-character introduction and forward to the book. Classifications, you got your great old ones, you got your lesser old ones, you got your outer gods, you got your avatars, you got your elder gods, and you got your unique beings. And the thing about those categories is that they actually matter. Because if I remember right, most of those are at odds with each other. So an avatar is basically like a manifestation of another creature. So I believe avatars are things like Nyarlathotep, or I can't pronounce that, or like the King in Yellow. Unique beings are basically just super powerful creatures, but like the great old ones and the elder gods and such and the outer gods, they were all like at each other's throat. So let's take a look. Great and lesser old ones. They appear to be immensely powerful alien beings with supernatural seeming abilities, but are apparently not as powerful or old nor all-consuming as the outer gods. Each great old one seems independent of the rest, and while some do appear to have connections, they tend to operate in isolation. So a great old one would be something like Cthulhu. So if you think about it, how big Cthulhu is or whatever in these things, and how powerful he is, something like, what was it, Astaroth or whatever, will just blow it out of the water. Because you've got Cthulhu, which is a measurably finite being despite all his power. And then you've got like the great nuclear chaos, and it's just like on a completely new level. So here we go. Using mythos gods in the games, you are not supposed to use them as your main component. Okay, hold on. I gotta see this. We attack. While close combat and spell contests between investigators and great old ones are likely to end in sorrow for the players, some groups make wish to take. Editor, where are you? I expected better of you, Chaosium. Why would you do this to me? Make wish to take the fight literally to the mythos gods. This may be especially true in games of Pulp Cthulhu, which is basically Call of Cthulhu, but with pulp stylings. Yeah, it basically says don't do that, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. It gives you ideas for designing them. Here's the entry formats. I'm not going to look at all of these, because this is how many deities are in the Cthulhu mythos. And I'm not going to go to all of them. Yeah, outer gods, Azathoth. That's the other one. That's the one I was thinking of. Nyarlathotep is an outer god. Shub-Nigroth is an outer god. Great. YouTube's going to demonetize me now. Oh well, fuck it. Yog-Sothoth is an outer god. And then you got the avatars, which are like aspects of the other stuff. And you'll note that a ton of these are avatars of Nyarlathotep. Because Nyarlathotep takes on different aspects, like almost every single story. Unique entities: Dagon and Hydra, Fathagwa. Great, YouTube's going to really get on me now. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and pronounce half of this stuff. I do like the art for the chapter headings, but I wish there were more illustrations of the creatures in the other one. The few illustrations that were there were really nice, and I wish there was more artwork regarding them. I guess that this is Chaosium basically telling you to buy the Sandy Peterson's guide. So I guess I can see what they're coming from. So let's take a look at a random god, shall we? So remember we were talking about cults earlier? They got the cult descriptions in here. So you get the name, Arawasa in this case. You've got the category, a great old one. You've got a quick description. You've got other names. Then you've got the background of that deity in question. But then you've got a typical physical manifestation, because they do have bodies and they can come into the world, because they're not really spiritual creatures. They're like actual aliens. But then you've got the cult, and so you get like a brief blurb on the cult that worships it, and then like any special abilities that god may give to cult members, which can be useful when you get a group that decides to not only just kill the cult, but also to try to like do the ritual themselves to gain power, which is funny, but you know, it works. And then you've got example encounters, and then any particular aura it has. And they don't actually have, like, aside from the physical manifestation, so the physical manifestation stats are not, like, they're not the be-all and end-all of the god itself. So if they fight him in combat, they'll be fighting a physical manifestation, but if they kill the physical manifestation in most cases, that just disperses the god and makes it go off into who knows where. Then they've got the effects on sanity. It's magical stats, because magic is magic in Call of Cthulhu is like almost a completely different resolution system. I mean, it uses the same general rules, but it's really kind of it really kind of departs from things. You have a lot of other things to keep track of. There's Azathoth, outer god, also known as the Well of Chaos, the blind idiot, because it's a mindless center. Azathoth is the mindless center of the universe and has existed since the beginning of the universe. So how would that even manifest? I mean, I guess there you go. That's how it would manifest. Azathoth, the seething nuclear chaos. Note, Azathoth is beyond all possible scales, and as an entity is meaningless to attempt to combat with it. So yeah, it's like fighting Azathoth, even though it's got a typical manifestation here. A lot of these things say NA, because if you're fighting Azathoth, that's like trying to fight like a force of the universe. It's like trying to fight like the weak nuclear force or whatever. It's not going to happen because it's everywhere. It's a being. It's not a being. It's an element. You got Bast, because of course you have to have furries. Except that I don't think there's any fur on that one. She's a sphinx. All right. There's Beatus. Let's take a look at Cthulhu himself, shall we? I'm gonna wrap up here pretty soon. I like these books. I really do. All right, here we go. Cthulhu himself, the great old one, and it gives you an excerpt that tells you the description. Other names: He Who Waits Dreaming, Cthulhu, Ulu, the Sleeper, Thuthu, and Tulu. So those are basically pronunciations from different stories. Cthulhu is like the most developed one, because see, that's the difference between Cthulhu himself and a star spawn of Cthulhu. Those are like the baby Cthulhus. This is one of the more developed ones, just because so many stories mention him. You got the cult, which is like a page and a half, or not quite a page full of stuff. You've got the Call of Cthulhu, because he like calls out to those who he can influence to try to raise him. And then let's take a look at his typical physical manifestation of Cthulhu. Attacks per round: 2 or 1. Here it is. Here it is. Scoop. Maneuver. Each round, 1d3 investigators or other humans are scooped up by Cthulhu's flabby claws or face tentacles to die hideously. Face tentacles may extend and vary their thickness, causing them to be able to access small holes and other places people might try to hide in, which makes me want to try to pull somebody out through a very small hole. May scoop once per round. Targets may attempt to dodge. So it doesn't instantly kill you. But I mean, it's not like it looks in you and you die. You do get a dodge roll. So if you're being paranoid, you can try to dodge. You're probably going to fail, but you can try. All right. The damage alone is enough to one-shot almost every human. It seems like the physical manifestation here may be a little bit weaker than the one in past manifestations. Then you got Behemoth, the Cthulhu avatar. I just wish there were more illustrations. I mean, I like the ones that are there. I'm not going to try to pronounce half of this stuff. But the ones that are there are nice enough that it makes me wish there were more of them. You know? That's my only complaint with this book so far, aside from the editing problems. Thank you very much, editor. I need to make that a thing. I need to get like a little avatar, so when I ask for the editor, they can pop up. Yeah, this just goes over each of the cuts. There's not enough illustrations in here. I want more illustrations. Like this. It doesn't tell you much, but it's nice to look at. Again, I guess this is just them telling you to buy the Sandy Peterson illustration book. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip the rest of this. Let's take a look at the Nyarlathotep, because they've got different manifestations. Because Nyarlathotep comes as a human most of the time, and each one has its own. No, this is a completely different one. The Queen in Red. That's not a manifestation. So yeah, these are like lesser deities. No, human seeming avatars, and then you get to the Black Pharaoh, who is. I thought that was a manifestation of Nyarlathotep. No, it is. It is. So all of these are just various manifestations of Nyarlathotep all the way down here. Okay. A lot of them have like an Egyptian theme to them. The Bloody Tongue. Haunter of the Dark. Yeah, you gotta watch where one creature begins and another, or one creature ends and another begins, because, yeah, like all of that, all of those pages I just flipped through were all regarding Nyarlathotep, because he has a bunch of different forms. Yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here, I think. Let me take a look. Is there anything useful at the end? It's got more and more. This is a nice book. I will say that. Some of these give you a lot of information on their cults, which is really nice. Alright, yeah, this is... Let's take a look. You got nothing, and then you got the pronunciation of MYTHOS names, which gives you... And I suspect it's got a lot longer pronunciation guide, right? No, there you go. And then you got more Monster Master sheets, which are just... Even though you're not going to use them for the deities most times, you know, they're there. Anyway, that was Malleus Monstrorum, 2 volumes. I should have got it for $65. I feel bad, but I wanted it, and I didn't think $85 was bad for these, considering I usually pay like $30 to $40 per book for Call of Cthulhu stuff. So, yeah. Again, I put the link in the chat earlier. I will put it in the description of the video for, like, right now. In fact, I will do that. Because I know people are going to look at this later. Yeah, this is one I've been waiting for a long time. This is one that I've been waiting for a long time. Sorry I didn't get much in the way of gameplay done today in terms of getting like a early access thing or going. But I've been busy today. I've been doing all kinds of stuff, and just trying to make a stream at all today was a real challenge. So I'm glad I got at least some of it out. I hope people enjoyed. I will try to get more Let's Play stuff up soon, but I said I was going to do a stream about the channel. Let me get that clear. Let me pop. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It was because I was using that when this mic was when this camera was going on, the mic was drawing it in, and now can you hear me though? Anyway, technical issues. It's nice to know I can at least do this. I just got to hammer some more technical issues out. Anyway, yeah, I got to make some changes to the channel because YouTube's changed a little bit. I'll continue putting videos up like as long as I can, but the simple fact of the matter is that if I don't make some changes, less and less people are going to watch stuff. So I'm probably going to end up trying to put more tabletop stuff out, and I know a lot of people follow me for the Let's Plays. But I'm going to finish the one I'm doing, and I will do a few more in the future, but I'm probably going to be doing most of my Let's Plays on the secondary channel. So this one's going to be shifting. I'm going to start diverging them and shift this one more towards tabletop stuff, and then the other one more towards like Let's Play type stuff. And I will still do my reviews on here and my news on here, the RPG News Roundup, the Indie Game Friday, although I'm not even sure I'm going to continue that one next year. I'm going to see how it does this year. And then, like, the tabletop reviews, the Shelf of Many Things, which is the more minor stuff. I'm going to try and get more of those out. I just finished Old School Essential Review, which should have been out a month ago, except that I had the weather issues, and I just finished it. Expect it up next week. And I will probably start looking to do reviews of more OSR adventures and try to do some I'll try to do more reviews of OSR adventures, period, because that people seem to like those, so I will do more of those. In fact, I got a couple on the to-do list coming up that should be pretty fun. Anyway, for now, I'm gonna wrap it up here. This has been the RPG Crawler. Link is in the description and in the chat way at the beginning, but in the description now. If you like what you see, remember to leave a like, comment if you've got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content. I would like to thank all my patrons, all my subscribe stars, all my members. In fact, I got a couple channel members that have been really key in keeping things going, and hopefully I'm going to be able to do better things coming up. Until next time, take care and goodbye.